what it do? It's your boy Rue, and welcome to Rueality. We are here with another artist on our heavy rotation feature. We have the wonderful Sabrina Movitz. Did I pronounce that correctly?
Oh, I love the way you pronounce it. It was perfect.
Yes, you are my first virtual guest. I'm super excited to dive into your artistry, your journey, and everything that's been going on with you. I actually came across your sound off of, I believe his name is Kayvon.
Mhm.
He was a speaker at a conference that I was attending, and I saw your picture and I was like, "Ooh, who's this?" And I went immediately to Spotify and I heard the song and I was like, oh, this is a bop. This is a
Oh,
bop.
thank
So, and
you.
then you message me and you're like, where did you hear this from? Like, because the song actually came out in 2002. I mean, 2022.
Yeah, it
So,
came out last year. So my friend Avani, who is also a wonderful artist, songwriter, singer, who is a close friend from college, she put me on to Kayvon's like Discord and his like
mm,
streaming and all that stuff. And so I joined his Discord channel and it just kind of all went from there.
yeah.
But I'm glad it got us to where we are now.
Yeah, I love that. I think that's what it's all about, right? Being on the internet for the right reasons and doing
Yeah.
things correctly. Let's dive into who you are. Tell us, a little bit about yourself. What was your journey like when you were younger, growing up, and how did you get into songwriting and singing and all of that? So, yeah.
Yeah. I'm from New Hampshire, born in New Hampshire.
Oh,
Uh,
so
and
you're familiar with Lawrence?
oh yes,
That's
yeah.
where I'm at.
You're in Lawrence, Mass right now? Oh my gosh. That's so funny. Yeah, I'm Northeast gal. Although I did grow up for like age 4 to 14 in St. Louis.
Oh, okay.
Um, Uh, but always had family in New England, and I'm very familiar with Lawrence. But yeah, I've always been songwriting and singing. Like I have like a lot of memories of like road trips with my family, with my dad, and just like playing guitar in the back seat, or always performing at talent shows. And like honestly, I was the most annoying kid. Like I really just wanted to be like the center of attention at all times.
Period.
Um,
Period.
I just like wanted to be like, everybody sit down. I'm gonna be singing the entire Hannah Montana album for you all for the next hour and a half, and you are all gonna love it.
I love that. I love that.
That was my vibe, and my parents eventually were like, okay, we need to like, she needs an outlet. Like, we can't keep being the audience.
Right,
I'm
right.
sure it got annoying for them. But yeah, I just kind of like would always, if whenever there was a talent show, try to perform or sing in middle school. Do the plays, do the musicals. You know, and it kind of just like kept building, and um, I I honestly was mostly drawn to singing initially, and then I got to a point where I just felt like the way that I express my emotions is kind of through songwriting. And I was,
Yeah.
going through, being a teenager is hard for anybody, I
Yep,
think.
yep.
But yeah, I feel like my songwriting really took just accelerated in general when I was a teenager, and just like wanted an outlet for expressing feelings and stuff. Um,
Do you
and
remember your first song that you wrote?
I do,
What
yeah.
was it about? What's the title? Give us the tea.
I wrote it when I was 11. It's
Ooh.
called Life's Duet.
At
And
11 years old, this is the title?
I literally have been such a hopeless romantic my entire life.
It's
And
giving artists from birth, honey.
oh, it's the most ridiculous song. It's like three chords. I think it's just like A, E, and G or something like that. But it is uh it's take my hand like you did when we first met. Don't be scared, I'll be your safety net. We can win it. Life's game, I bet.
I
Like,
love this.
and who was I singing about? It was probably like Timmy from eighth grade. I don't know. But yeah. So it's just kind of, I feel like songwriting's always been a part of my life, and just tried to hone it based on other artists that I've listened to for a long time, and here we are now.
I love that. I love that. Let's dive into your favorite artists growing up. Like, who were you listening to? What was playing on the, I believe you are part of the what is it? iPad or the iPod era.
Oh, yes, the iPod era. I had so I have, I mean, background context is like my father is much older. He is like my mom loved Simon and Garfunkel, loves like Britney Spears and Lady Gaga too. But my dad is much older, and so he was always kind of exposing me to the like 40s and 50s jazz
Oh
standards
wow, I
kind
love
of
that.
thing. So he loved Frank Sinatra, loves Ella Fitzgerald, Etta James, like, just
Mm.
yeah, just singers that are so emotive with their voices and do so much with pretty simple lyrics. So I have like a number of influences, and then my sister, who's 9 years older than me, was the one who was, when I was maybe 13 or 14, was like, you need to listen to this band called Panic at the Disco.
Oh,
And
you are the second person to bring up Panic at the Disco. I
really,
interviewed an artist yesterday and she was like, I grew up listening to Panic at the Disco. And I'm like, wow, I didn't know. Okay.
yeah, my sister, when she was in high school, I would have been like end of elementary school, kind of, or beginning of middle school. And she just exposed me to like the Killers, Keen, Panic, and some other ones. But I think like my biggest influences, I've always really looked up to Taylor Swift as a songwriter. Production wise, I've always been very influenced by Lorde and her production.
Ooh.
Um, and I would say lyricism and like melody wise, I've started to become much more influenced by SZA recently.
Oh,
Um,
she's a
she's
big one
just
right
like
now.
she's just the most creative with her melodies. Like every time I think I know where she's going, she takes me somewhere different.
Mm-hmm.
And that is like, but it's not in a forced way. Like it just feels so
It
natural.
flows, yeah.
It flows really well, and I just like am kind of endlessly impressed with her. So yeah, those are kind of my big three right now.
I love that. I love that. That's a good big three to have because I feel like they all offer something completely different and you're able to like hear different sounds from each of them. So I love that. Let's talk about Coming Down. What was the inspiration behind that?
Oh, Coming Down was kind of a song about changes, and which is like very generic thing to say, I realize, but I spent a summer after I graduated college. Um, I went to LA with the intention of like making it.
I'm gonna be a star.
I'm gonna be a star, and it's only gonna take me 2 months to do.
I did the same thing. I lasted 6 months out there and I was like, I'm going back home. Like what?
Okay, I feel that makes me feel better. Yeah, every time I say that to someone, they're like, "Oh, I did that too," and it's nice camaraderie. No, I was like, I'm gonna become a star in 2 months, and it's gonna be so easy. Everyone's gonna love
Not an eight
me.
week crash course.
Yeah. But I went and it was kind of like in my mind, I had it built up as kind of like a last ditch effort to, be a musician because um, I like have always wanted to be a full-time musician and like make my career out of that.
Mhm.
But my family has always been very big into education and like has
Mhm.
always wanted like, biology, be a doctor, like go, do this kind of thing. And so there's always been a bit of tension.
Mhm.
And so in my head, I was like, going to California this summer is going to be the thing that puts me firmly in that camp rather than the more academic, like, uh,
Right, right,
you
right.
know, career. And it was a good summer, but obviously, like, 1 in a million chance that that happens. And so I did my thing. I met some amazing people. I made good friends, worked at a ridiculous coffee shop, and had some very fun memories. But um, at the end of the summer, I was coming back and I was about to start a master's degree at Georgetown in biomedical science policy. And it just firmly felt like I was like, well, that dream didn't work out. And now we're going
Let's
to
do
this
this.
camp.
Yeah.
And I kind of, yeah, I just had a moment when um, I was really, really upset about that and like didn't want to come home. I didn't want to go back to the East Coast. I want to stay on the West Coast. And I had, as the song suggests, a pretty hard mid-flight cry. Just on my way back, California to New England, and just being like, shit, like I didn't do it. Um,
Right. Yeah.
and then like, I mean, that song, I wrote it basically at the end of 2019. And then a pandemic happened. I finished my master's degree, got a job, and here we are now, 2022, and I'm still doing music. And so by the time the song, when I wrote the song, it was a pretty sad song.
Yeah.
And by the time I actually released it in 2022, I had had some time to sit with it, and I realized that there isn't this binary like I think there is. And there's no like making it or not making it, because if you are an artist, you just make art to process your feelings and your
I love
emotions and
that.
the
Yeah.
world around you. And there isn't this making it or not making it binary that I had always kind of told myself there was. And so
Hmm.
I decided to just change the song into something that's a more like hopeful, uplifting song, to say like maybe these changes aren't so dramatic. maybe
Yeah.
they're maybe it's important to have that moment of like grounding. Yeah.
I love that. I love your story. I love that, and I want to reassure you that a lot of people actually do that. They move to LA and they think, within the first year I'm gonna make it, and it's like it takes so much hard work. And I used to dance, and I moved over there with the same mentality of like I'm gonna be a dancer, and I'm like I moved there and 6 months went by and I was just like it's not working. Like you got to reroute, you got to go back home, reground yourself, and look at everything that's coming for you now, and look at everything you've obtained since then. You would have never had it had you stuck around and been a little hard-headed, can you say?
Wow. What kind of dance do you do?
I'm a hip hop dancer.
Wow,
So
I
I'm right now I choreograph a youth team here in Lawrence, but I've kind of put my dance chops behind me. I'm like, I'm just doing choreography and coaching and passing my knowledge on. And yeah. And
that's
podcasting. I got into podcasting through all of this because I realized that I had a voice and I needed to say something. So I
absolutely.
started doing everything. Um, but let's talk about your project. What's the name? Can you give
Yeah,
us any deets about it? How many tracks are we
yeah.
expecting?
So the EP is called How It Works Out. Um,
I
and
love that.
it should be out, I think. I'm tentatively gonna say May 6th, I think. So it's quickly approaching. I have one thing that's still in the docket to be mastered, so I'm leaving it semi-open. But yeah, it's a EP that's kind of a culmination of a lot of the things that I just mentioned. I wrote some of these songs in 2019, some of them 2022, some of them
Wow.
like a few months ago. So it's really an evolution of like a bunch of big changes that have happened in the past few years. I mean, the least of which is the pandemic. But I think a lot of the imagery, one of the things I'll say, because I'm taking kind of a uh, not a like risky approach to the visuals, but I'm trying to do something that's a little bit surrealist. Like there's this painter, Magritte, or Magritte, I guess it's pronounced, where he does these paintings of like a man in a at a bowler hat and like an orange over his face. Like it's kind of
Mm.
surrealist.
Hmm.
And I am doing a lot of visuals where I have a lampshade instead of my head,
Mm.
like wearing a lamp, and like have a electrical cord coming out from the bottom of my dress, like I am a lamp.
Oh, I love that. You are the light.
I mean, hopefully you just gotta plug it in. But there's a lot elements kind of throughout the EP that I'm trying to mimic in that visual that represent kind of like domesticity and wifeliness that it kind of decayed.
Mm,
And it's kind of about, I guess, like the first time I ever got really close in a relationship to being like, this is someone I could see as my life partner,
okay.
and then that not working out. And so there's a lot of references to both California and that summer and realizing that change that I mentioned with coming down, but also kind of the end of a relationship too, and those things kind of being parallel onto one another.
Mm, mm.
So there's there's a rock song that's pretty that'll be pretty fun to play live. We've got a sick guitar solo in there. My friend Camilla, she's so talented. She plays that solo and plays guitar on a lot of the EP, and bass. She's amazing. And then we've got like a nice kind of acoustic lullaby kind of song, some vocal only, kind of a cappella harmony songs. We've got a remix from my friend Cade, who's a really talented DJ producer. Um, so it's a little of everything,
I was
honestly.
about to say that. I'm like, it sounds like it's gonna be a little bit of everything. I love that it's wrapping and wrapping up your journey, I guess, in a sense of like this phase of your life and touching on, what you've kind of been through and what's been going on and now where you are now. So I think that that is gonna sound amazing and I can't wait to tune into it. What did you say the name of the project was again?
It's called How It Works Out.
Okay, okay. Now
Yeah.
that like it all makes sense. I love that you are actually thinking about the visual aspect of it because I feel like it's so important now for artists to have visuals
Yeah.
and just like the creativeness that you're going with it, the route that you're going with it. I was like, "Oh, this is different. We're not just sitting down and doing, random things." So I love that. Have you already shot a video?
So I don't have a video yet. I have some album art. I have some kind of promo pictures that my boyfriend took. He's actually a wildlife photographer, so it was very funny doing portraiture. We did it in the woods though, so I guess I kind of was the wildlife.
He's like, be a tiger.
Um, uh, yeah, I think per your point about the visuals, that is something that is very new to me, and I'm trying to figure out where to fit in. I think like
Yeah,
the Instagram, TikTok universe is so saturated, and there's a real, it's so overwhelming because like it's already saturated in the music world too. Like the streaming services are already pretty saturated. And so
hmm,
you're thinking, how do I differentiate myself and get heard and like have something unique to say in that regard?
hmm.
And then also, how do I do something unique visually? I'm not a visual artist. I'm not like, um, I don't come from that world really. And so that has been a really good lesson of like, that's the time you lean on friends. Like, that's the time you reach
Right,
out to your
right,
network and you talk with other people that do have that subject matter expertise. And, um, just talking with other like people who like to take photos or draw or whatever, and just,
right, right.
realize you don't have to do everything alone.
Yeah, because it's like you get to bounce ideas off of your friends, and especially if you have a lot of creative friends, you can kind of be like, "Hey, do you want to like help collab on this? Like maybe we can make this work out." So
Yeah.
I think that that sounds great. And as far as the pressure on social media, I mean, if I can give you any advice, I always tell people like upcoming artists like just take it slow, take your time, and stay true to your craft because it's very easy to fall into this like I'm gonna do this now. I'm gonna do these challenges, and you're like, what does that have to do with you? So-
Yeah, no, you're preaching to the choir, and what you're saying is so true. I feel like you can get so wrapped up in the promotion element that it stops becoming about your art.
Right,
And
right.
that's a tough balance. Like I feel like maybe Lil Nas X is like the only person who has ever gotten that balance right.
Yeah, and he's doing a pretty good job at it. So I
He's
I
amazing.
I can understand because it's like when I started Rueality, uh, you know, even with the first season, I was just like so unsatisfied with the product because I was like, this isn't what I wanted to do.
Mhm.
And even now, like, I'm like, okay, I love meeting with indie artists. I love talking about people's, you know, journeys and all of that, but I don't want the podcast to be all about that. So
Mm,
that's how I came across heavy rotation. And I was like, I've been sitting for the past 3 months and just like breaking my head of like, how does all of this exist? How does it look like in the world? And so
yeah.
that's how we came up with this because you know, we have the playlist that's available exclusively on Spotify, and I want to feature new artists every week. And so that way it gives everyone promotion, it puts it in a lot of different people's ears. And then I was like, this is great. I can interview the artists and put people onto them. So I'm excited. I'm excited to see what's coming for you. I cannot wait for this new project to drop and definitely be streaming it and adding some of the songs to the playlist. Um, what message do you have for yourself, you know, that you can look back in 10 years and tell yourself?
Um, I think my message for, you know, my past self would be um like change, as cliche as it's gonna sound, change is the only constant. And so y- change isn't a bad thing. It might mean that you're actually growing, and something good will come out of it. And on a more tangible side, I'm just like to be really candid, I'm just like really fucking proud of myself, because I produced it all myself and taught myself how to produce, um,
Beautiful. I love that. I love that.
and like it's always been something I've wanted to do. I've always wanted to learn how to produce. Like I respect Phineas as much as I respect Billie Eilish, and like want to be both of those things at the same
Yep.
time. And I just feel really proud of the product and like how much I've worked to learn how to produce, even somewhat amateurly, but like oftentimes producers are men, and so I feel really proud that
Mm,
I kind of
yeah.
learned how to do it and put a product out into the world that I feel proud of. And I think that past Sabrina should be proud of that. And it's not a feeling I unfortunately feel super often, but right now I feel that way.
I
Um,
love that.
yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for meeting with me today. I cannot wait, like I said, for this new project. And as always, you have my support. I love your sound. When I first started listening to Coming Down, I was like, ooh, who's this? I was like, your voice is just so like strong, but it can be soft at like certain points. And I'm just like, ooh, this is a good like range right here. So I
Oh,
definitely love it. Continue
thank
going and never give up. Never give up.
Honestly, right back at you. You've made like a whole little universe with your project, with Rueality, with heavy rotation. Like I know that we talked about the balance of promotion versus creation, but I feel like you have such a good balance of that in terms of,
Thank you.
going into multiple avenues and like just having your hand in every cookie jar in a way that like builds a little world for artists that
Thank
feels very
you.
safe and inviting. That's really special.
That's really what I want to do because I feel like there's, you know, we always see the big celebrities being interviewed and this and that. And I'm like, that's great, but there's an endless amount of talent, you know, and they all deserve a platform. So,
Absolutely. I could not agree more. Thank you for everything you do.
yes, and happy Easter.
Happy
If you
Easter.
guys are tuning into this, we recorded this in April. Thank you so much for coming on the show. And to everybody else, make sure you guys go stream Sabrina's project, which is already out by the time that this episode is out.
Fingers
Um,
crossed.
make sure you look her up on Spotify, Sabrina Movitz. And yeah, my name is Rue Zalez, and I am blasting off.
Bye. Thank you.